They always come back. The killer is a part of something in the past. This one just feels different.
First of all, I just have to say, as a fan of the franchise and horror in general, we are so happy to see both of you guys. Welcome back to the franchise. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think my first question is sort of like everyone's just looking back on this series. I mean, since 1996, so much has changed for teens, like when they were watching it compared to now. For you guys, what do you think have been the biggest changes looking back from when you guys first started to the kids that are going to be watching it today? And Neve, I'll start with you.
Well, I think I would look to, obviously the huge changes in technology. I mean, even the differences from the making of the movies and the writing of the scripts. Back in the day, we weren't dealing with cell phones and satellite technology and social media and all of those things we didn't have to take into consideration for the scripts. And as time has changed and technology has changed, that gets added to the script. It makes it more complicated to do a whodunit, but it also makes it more interesting. And that's how we as humans have changed as well. I mean, teens it's a whole other world now. It's a whole other world I don't quite know how to use, and I'm trying to figure it out.
What about you, David? What do you think?
Yeah, I'd agree with that completely. I mean, this new version's gorier and kind of amped up. There's like so many films that they could reference from the past. And the whole the whole fandom, like the love for horror films, the talking about it online.
Yeah, I was going to say, Neve, I'm sure you've experienced this since the first film came out, is just how much folks love it. And especially for Sydney, because she's a final girl. And I think anybody, and especially with like the trio, if you're the ones that survive it to the next film, you sort of up the stakes. But I'm just curious for you, Neve, who's your favorite final girl? I mean, we have Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween. You have, Ripley with Sigourney Weaver in Aliens. Even your Party of Five co-star, Jennifer Love Hewitt. She's a final girl from a we did last summer.
Oh my gosh! I mean, I love Jamie Lee. I think she's phenomenal. Either she or Sigourney, I would have to say. I mean,
yeah,
they were at the beginning of this.
We stacked the deck.
Yeah, for sure.
No, and then David, I think what's really interesting is watching sort of like Dewey's journey in this film. And one of the things that I thought was interesting was coming back to the role. You made a playlist.
Oh, it was a lot of 90s stuff. It's just to kind of bring you back to that sort of time period.
You can't give me a title. I want Spotify it.
Do you have the Fugees on there? We had the Fugees album came out when we were in Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
And we played that nonstop.
Yeah. That is such a good album.
Yeah.
Let me just fantasize one day about like Neve Campbell spitting some like Lauryn Hill lyrics, and I'm just gonna take that fantasy with me.
For sure.
Yes. The last thing I really have to say is, obviously with you guys who have survived most of these movies, if you could just tell me your real quick advice for how to survive a Scream movie.
Don't go to Woodsboro. That's a really bad idea if you want to survive.
Yeah, we've decided that, and run. Just run. Run is a good one. And maybe just stay away from Sidney Prescott, because everyone seems to die around her.
I will say, as someone that's still kind of mad that Jerry O'Connell didn't make it out of that movie, I would say that's probably right. I'm sorry. It has to be said.
There's certain rules to surviving.
The attacks were all on people related to the original killers.
Jack, Melissa, congratulations on the film. And on top of just how cool it is to be in this franchise, it's just the legacy that comes with Scream. So I want to ask both of you, what was your first experience with the franchise? And Jack, I'll start with you.
I have a kind of complicated history with Scream. I when I was 4 years old, I trick-or-treated for the first time in my neighborhood. And it was the year that the original Scream came out. So I don't think I've ever seen that many Ghostfaces in one place, and it scared the hell out of me. Particularly, there's this one Ghostface mask that it's kind of translucent, and you can pump fake blood through it. I still don't like it, but it kind of swore me off of horror movies for a very long time. And then, in my teen years, I started to watch, ease into the horror genre, test my limits. I started with stuff like Shaun of the Dead, and then I got to Scream and face my fear of Ghostface, and I just fell in love with it. It's just the perfect blend of genuine scares, humor, and meta commentary, and it lets you, it's bringing up all these, it's eliciting all these other movies and talking about horror movies, and it makes you want to go watch them, watch things like Halloween, Friday the 13th. I don't know. It's just so cool to be a part of this thing. So it's a big honor.
I was also way too young to watch Scream when they came out, but when I was like 11 or 12 years old, I became really obsessed with scary movies. And I think that's when I saw the first 3 that were out. And I was just like a masochist. I still am. I suffer a lot when watching scary movies, but there's an adrenaline rush of like an accomplishment when you survive watching a scary movie. And there's something really amazing about the balance of the humor and the gore and the awful kill scenes, but then you laugh at the super witty, sarcastic, very sharp dialogue in the movie. So it almost kind of balances it out and makes you feel not as scared in a way. Yeah. Now that I'm older and I rewatch it, I'm like, this is so smart. And it holds up. So I'm just, it's an honor to join the franchise.
Well, it sounds both of you are very fond, obviously, of the Scream franchise. And so that I think makes it even harder when you're like coming in to like join into something that you already have in high esteem. I'm just curious for you, Melissa, especially, there's that, but like, did the added Courteney Cox of it all, like I heard you're like a massive Friends fan, like did that like really push it over the edge?
Girl, like you don't even know. Jack knows because he was with me all the time.
Oof.
But it was.
When's Courteney getting here?
Like
when does Courteney arrive?
I played the scenario of me meeting Courteney a million ways in my brain. And I was like, what am I going to say? Like, am I going to hug her? Am I going to tell her how much I love her? Am I going to try and play cool? I want her to like not hate me. Is she going to be nice? Is she going to be awful? You know, they say don't meet your heroes because they can disappoint you. Courteney is the sweetest, nicest, most generous, talented person you can ever meet. Like she exceeds all your expectations. And she was so nice. And it's just incredible. I still can't believe it.
If I could just cut in really quick with this answer, watching the arc of Melissa, like waiting for Courteney to arrive, and then when she actually did arrive, and then seeing the two of them become best friends, it was the most wholesome thing I've ever seen in my life. It's incredible.
This is your life now, which means that whoever this is going to keep coming for you. You ready for this?
I think like the first thing I definitely want to ask is like, you guys did such a great job of the mother-son relationship. What was like challenging about having to do that under such crazy circumstances as like literally a masked person stabbing everyone? Yeah. And I'll start with you, Marley.
You kind of have to just be oblivious to the Ghostface aspect it was really quite frankly easy to establish our relationship because Dylan's such an awesome actor and person. It was just, I don't know, it was effortless, that part of it.
Yes, it was effortless. And same compliments to Marley, obviously.
Awesome. Well, both of you did such a great job. Dylan, this is not your first time to sort of, I would say, dabble in very well-known franchise type horror. But what would you say? Are you like a horror fan? Are you specifically drawn to this genre?
Yes to both. I'm a huge horror fan. I'm drawn to it. I love to go to all the new horror movies that come out. I'm all about it, which is why it's crazy for me to be in this franchise now.
Yeah, and named literally after Wes Craven. Like, when did they let you in on that sort of homage in your name?
I feel like I should have realized right away, but I didn't. It somehow took me weeks to even like compute. Someone pointed it out, and I was like, "Oh my, of course, you're right. Like that's crazy." And yeah, it's like a subtle nod, but nonetheless, it's I'm involved in a nod to Wes Craven, and that feels so special.
I mean, does Judy get any credit for naming her son?
I mean, I was just about to say, I don't want to, and not only for you, but coming back from previous installments, how does it feel coming back knowing this film would have been dedicated to him?
I think he would be very proud of this offering. A lot of care was taken to do right by Wes's world, the universe, the Scream universe that he created. It's so groundbreaking and tonally so unique. by being self-referencing and funny and yet absolutely terrifying at the same time. So I think we did him proud.
Oh, I definitely going to say. And then also, like, I feel bad because, like, after you've watched so many of them, like, they kind of in your head run a little bit together. But this one I do feel is very different. So I'm going to ask you what you think about this one that really sort of sets it apart among every other entry in the franchise.
First of all, we're taking it back towards Woodsboro, so that's very much a character. And there's some great tie-ins and some great backstory and history that obviously I won't spoil, but that is a big element.
I think what sets it apart as well is that this is, I think, very much so a direct callback to the first one in a lot of ways. It is a relaunch of the franchise, and it feels like that too. It feels like sort of bringing it back and also starting fresh. So it's, it feels like we're starting, hopefully the beginning of something new and like a revival of this franchise.
It's kind of like, patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time. Like we're paying homage and yet we're relaunching and it's fresh and new and slightly different. I think the main thing is like just chronologically, like a lot of time has passed in the storytelling, in the plot.
It's to see these characters in a different phase.
Exactly.
And like the as far as like the 3 OG characters, Neve, Courtney, and David, like we've been following them through every movie, and they have been the leads of all of the movies so far. Whereas they're huge parts of this film, but the new leads are this young cast, and that hasn't necessarily been the case for the other Scream movies. So I think that also sets us apart as well, or it feels like we're getting invested in new characters, like really invested for the first time, in terms of new young teens in town. So yeah.
Whatever his link is to our past, it's pulled us all back here. And I won't sleep until he's in the ground.
Jacqueline with rotten tomatoes. Jacqueline with rotten tomatoes. Scream.
If this is all I have to do for today, that's it. We're good. Like that's it. Then this interview is only downhill from there. But I'm going to try and keep it to that level.
Great. I would
Jasmin, I want to talk to you about it because your character is not giving too much away to say she's very knowledgeable about horror movies. She is the quote unquote expert, as it were. And I'm just curious, like, I have a feeling like if you're going to be the expert, you have to go on a deep dive. So did you go on like a horror movie deep dive?
I swam in the horror movie pool, but I was able to find that passion from my own nerding out abilities, which for me are Broadway and the enneagram. The second we got to Wilmington, I made the entire cast and the directors and the producers each take the enneagram quiz because I needed to know who was what. And so I just approached the monologue as if I was talking about the things that I nerd out about.
That's right.
I love that. So let me just real quick, since you mentioned Broadway, I guess you are voting for a Scream musical. Like, would you be down for that?
Yes.
And
are you kidding
which
me?
part do you want to play?
I mean, well, it depends if it's like a new version with new characters, or if it's based on the characters that are already here, because obviously I'd want to be Mindy. Otherwise, I think we need a Black Sydney. Let's be real.
You would knock that out of the park.
We need a Black Sydney?
I don't know what I gotta do to see that happen, but I'll petition as a bunch of fake names or something.
Lin-Manuel, I'm here. I'm available.
Could you Lin-Manuel would eat that.
Scream the musical?
And then I put
And I already have a connection through Melissa.
Yes, get it done. And one of his favorite musicals is the Heathers musical, which is another like sort
Are you
of
a
like
Broadway
teen...
nerd too?
Yeah, let's get it. But
girl, we need to go see Company with Patti LuPone right now. You know I'm ready. I'm about to go to New York just to see let's see it together.
I've got to like tear the pages, otherwise they're gonna get mad at me because I feel like Mason, we're going into Broadway, but the horror is like your,
you guys are doing great.
Like, yeah, like this is your beat though, because correct me if I'm wrong, the internet lies all the time. Did you write an essay about Scream?
I did indeed in my sophomore year of college, and to be entirely honest, I didn't know I'd have to answer for it some 5 years later.
What grade did you get? An A-?
I say A-, to be entirely honest, I don't know.
I bet he got an A+.
I can guarantee without looking too far into it, I probably wrote it the night before it was due. But
he's got that good brain, smart
right.
brain.
And coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you have to use that brain for the script? Because I heard they kept y'all guessing. Like, I heard, like, they never told y'all who the killer was.
Not
like,
until the last second.
Like, when did they ever tell you? Mason, I'll start with you. Like, did you When did you know?
It was a bit of a game of deception where I feel like we would make our guesses and plead our cases for our theories, and they would always say yes. They would be like, yeah, that's right. You actually, you got it. You were the one that got it. And you'd leave feeling great, only to film the next day and be like, those mother...
He lied to me.
That's okay. But that created an air that no matter what happens, everyone could be the killer. Everyone is a suspect.
Which led well to the filming the scenes, because then we really didn't know. We weren't just acting. We were also schmacking.
To be entirely honest, I don't even know now. You know, film is over. I just
no idea.
That's right.
Could be you.
I actually saw somewhere online that it was you. Funnily enough.
You are wearing red.
I mean, listen, I'm not saying that I did not have the tendency to want to murder my town at one point in my teenage years, but nobody made a movie about it.
Who didn't?
Real quick though, since we already went on the like singing diatribe, so did y'all karaoke? Because it seems like there's a lot of musical theater nerds in this cast, and just like people that like just.
We didn't karaoke, but we would sing. We all Jenna Ortega has the best music taste. You also have good music taste. So does Dylan. Mine's gotten better. It wasn't great at the time. It's gotten better.
Well, there is a lot of. Jasmin is an incredible musician and singer-songwriter.
Next song comes out this month. Woo!
Dylan Minnette is obviously part of the incredible band Wallows.
Sonia.
Sonia is an amazing singer. I think she goes by Sonia Ammar.
I think so. Or no, I think she just goes by Sonia.
So listen,
everyone sings.
Jack even plays guitar and sings.
And Melissa was in The Heights.
And Melissa's great.
I've seen this movie before.
Not this movie.
I think I'd have to ask both of you, because I don't even want to age myself to say where I was when I saw it, but what was your first memory of Scream? And Mikey, I'll start with you.
Well, for some reason, I think just growing up, I've always known what Scream is, and I've always recognized the Ghostface mask, but I really only saw the movie just a few years ago for the first time. But since then, I've seen it a few times, and the rest of the movies as well.
Yeah, you got to get the whole franchise eventually. Sonia, what about you? What was your first memory of Scream?
My first memory of Scream was seeing the first film when I was way too young to watch it. I must have been like 8, and I was terrified, and I was kind of like forced into it by my older siblings to watch it. But even before I had watched it, I'd recognized Ghostface and seen, like the figure and the mask, and it goes down in like pop culture history and is iconic. So
yeah, it's got the best branding. Like it's like McDonald's Ghostface. It's like recognizable branding for it. Yeah. I guess it goes without saying, if you're going to join a movie like Scream, you're going to have to show your Scream-worthy talents. But I'm just curious, Mikey, who do you think has the best Scream among the cast members?
I think Jenna has a really good high-pitched, like blood-curdling one. I think I'll give Jenna my vote. Yeah.
I mean, all right, Sonia, you hear her scream and it's insane.
Yeah.
She's so
good.
This
is true. This is true. I remember this. And I guess
Sonia,
Sonia,
that's pain in that scream. It's like gut wrenching scream.
So that's your favorite too?
I like Jenna's. This little Missy has a great scream.
Yes.
I feel like everyone has their own. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, what's the secret to a great scream? Like, how do you put yourself in the mindset to really like cry out like that? Because it has to appear like it's spontaneous, but it's not. So like, as two scream queens, what is the secret?
Somebody's got to tell me, because I feel like I have a terrible scream. I need some tips. So
Scream,
Mikey,
is such a strange thing though, because it's not something that you practice a lot. You're like, okay, I have to scream, and I don't know what it's gonna sound like, but some sound is gonna come out.
I think like when you're in a scene and you're in it, it probably is easier. But I feel like I remember when we were doing press photos and they wanted like shots of us just like screaming, and they're like, just scream, and I'm like, there's like people watching you and you're just there and you're like, like what do I do? That's like an awkward moment. I'm like, I don't know how to scream, but when it's in context, easier, I think.